Welcome to an exciting new segment of We Told You So, episode 160, full of car chases and explosions! Probably. So you remember Joni Ernst, the Republican senator from Iowa, who in May, when the Republicans were trying to cut Medicare and Medicaid, and she said, well, you've got to die of something? Yeah, she's not seeking re-election, due to her constituents having an overwhelmingly negative view of her. She recently, just a few weeks ago, she said, Donald Trump, I have a list of $2 trillion that could be cut from the federal government, and it's conveniently all popular Biden initiatives and things from the Democrats. And she thought that was going to get her a huge boost in popularity, and it fucking failed. Meanwhile, Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, who recently told Donald Trump she was not going to break the law for him, she is now running for the Senate in order to unseat Susan Collins. Now let's get to the bad and crazy shit. Donald Trump and the MAGA are celebrating the fact that he had a ceasefire for a whole 4 days, a ceasefire that was directly taken from Biden's plan. And while Joe Biden's ceasefire that he implemented before he left office lasted 2 months, Trump's lasted 4 days, because Netanyahu's country is already back to attacking and unaliving Palestinians. And just like I said would happen, those people in Netanyahu's parliament who gave Trump a standing ovation, as well as the people in the Republican Party who want to nominate Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, they look embarrassingly fucking stupid. Because like I said before, that supposed ceasefire deal did not have any stipulation as to if the Palestinian Authority would remain in control of Gaza, and Hamas still said they weren't going to disarm. Netanyahu can't help himself and just continues bombing people. Recently, Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, had his US visa revoked over what they called reckless and incendiary remarks. He was in New York at a rally for the Palestinians, and he said, "This is why from here in New York, I ask all soldiers in the United States Army not to point their rifles at humanity. Disobey Trump's order. Obey the order of humanity." Because telling the army not to turn its weapons on citizens is horribly inflammatory. But Trump and his people can go on the news and call all Democrats terrorists. That's totally fine. And just as a note, Trump wouldn't be afraid of this type of rhetoric if he actually had the support of his military. Which he doesn't. They fucking hate him. Which is why he recently told the Pentagon to, quote, use all available funds to pay troops during the shutdown. Because it's actually illegal to pay the military during a government shutdown unless there's some kind of special legislation passed by Congress. But Mike Johnson won't reopen the House because he's afraid of a vote on the Epstein files. And let's be honest, if that's the thing that you think is going to bring down your regime, then it totally deserves to. But Trump already knows the military and the top generals don't like him. They know that Pete Hegseth is a fucking joke. And the last thing Trump wants is his military pissed off and unpaid. Because he knows he's about 6 inches, well, it's Trump, so let's say 3 inches away from a military coup. But this is also hilariously hypocritical by Trump and the Republicans, because they're out there saying, look, Donald Trump cares about the military. Oh, the Democrats don't care about the military. When the Democrats actually tried passing legislation a few days ago to pay the military during the shutdown, and the Republicans completely blocked it because they knew it wouldn't give a win to Trump. Meanwhile, in relation to the frozen water Gestapo's raids across the country, breaking into people's cars, breaking into their houses, following people, slamming people to the pavement, Steve Hofstetter made an excellent point that that whole thing came into fruition because of a response to 9/11, just like the Patriot Act. But I doubt this is going to have any effect on the MAGA because just like Schittler, in recent years they've been looking at the words of Osama bin Laden and they've been like, hey, he's kind of a good guy. And since irony is dead, these frozen water bullies are complaining that they're being compared to people from the 1930s when they're literally using the Nuremberg defense of, I was only following orders. And lastly, Donald Trump's recent visit to Walter Reed for what they called a routine yearly checkup, when he already had one 6 months ago, included advanced imaging, laboratory testing, and 2 vaccines, which I'm sure MAGA's gonna hate. But just to let you know, during an annual physical, even when you already had one a few months ago, you don't need to get a full set of CTs and MRIs. Whereas, as many medical professionals on here have recently pointed out, this was more likely a follow-up appointment after his stroke or some kind of medical event 6 weeks ago when he disappeared for several days during Labor Day. Because they gotta keep pulling a weekend at Bernie's for this asshole so they can continue burning down the country in his name. This has been We Told You So. As usual, Donald Trump and the MAGA are a fucking embarrassment to our country.